Hello everyone, and welcome to a presentation about the projected user interface system by BOSS Limited. I am Roger Stefanos and I will be presenting today, and thank you very much for taking the time to view this video. If you could please take a moment to read our disclaimer. The content of this presentation is proprietary and confidential information of BOSS Limited and the IP holder, Roger Stefanos. It is not intended to be acted upon or distributed to any third party without the written consent of the aforementioned parties. By remaining in this presentation, you acknowledge the fact that this information is not to be disclosed without permission. Okay, to start today's presentation, we'll go through the contents of what we're going to discuss today. We will start by giving you an idea of the company mission and vision. What is the purpose that drives us? The problem that we have identified through our operations, the available solutions and our competition available in the market today, the solution that we have designed, why now, the actual product, the market size that this product will be applying to, the business model that we have chosen to work with, the financials and the timescales for everything else to happen. Now, before we do anything else, we will first present the company purpose, and is very nicely summarized in these two statements. Our mission statement is to bridge the gap between user experience and technological advancement with the ultimate goal of unleashing the power of technology. Technology is advancing in a rapid speed nowadays, with the result of becoming more complex and harder to use for the everyday user. As a result, IT companies are needed to bridge the gap by bringing the knowledge and experience of an IT engineer to the user for everyday use. Now, how everything started. After completing my physics studies from Lancaster University, I was employed by a local logistics company as a new business developer. Now, using my IT knowledge, I started managing our office resources. And then a local company called us asking for some advice for some IT problems that they were having. Now, after that, word got out, and other companies in the local proximity started calling us, asking for advice and asking for some management of their IT resources. Now, at one point, it was all helping the businesses that were nearby, but eventually they started asking for invoices, and organically, BOSS Limited came to be. Now, to solve the problems of all these companies, we used combinations of thin clients, synchronizing shared cloud folders, VPN connections, remote support software, and in effect, botched integrations between available tools. This approach, even though it got the job done, it actually requires a lot of maintenance and a lot of updates and upgrading and constant support from us that build it up. And because of that, we decided to just scrap that idea, and we have identified some IT needs that were in effect shared through our clients. Now, today's user wants to access all of their files from all of their devices instantly. Industry leaders have been attempting to provide just that through cloud-based solutions, and that is why the cloud is considered to be the future of information technology. Now, in addition to this, software is kept up to date constantly, which in effect makes programs more functional, yes, but at the same time, it makes them more complex and the hardware is struggling to run it. Now, everyone must recognize these two circle wheels, and we tend to call them Pirkilui, which in effect means the annoying loading circle. Now, whenever you're asking your computer to do something that is too much for it to handle, it will show this as an indication of, wait a second, user, I'm struggling in a bit, but I'll be there as soon as I can. And sometimes that works, but then again, sometimes it doesn't. And that's when you end up having this. Now, this sound actually gives me nightmares because I've seen it so many times, but you'd be lucky if you just get one of them. But sometimes systems are relying on each other in order to work. So in effect, things start escalating quite quickly, and eventually you get the worst one, which is your computer has stopped working. We don't know why, we don't know how, but for some reason, The software is asking something from the hardware that it cannot be done. It cannot handle it. So we've decided to just shut everything down and start from zero. So let's talk about the available solutions and the competition in today's market. People have identified that this problem exists. These problems and needs exist for the users. So they've started creating solutions for individual parts of the needs of the user. Now, we can summarize the solutions that we are talking about in three categories. First and foremost, the remote desktop protocols. What that is, in effect, is it allows a user to access a remote computer, as it's in the name, remote desktop, and then use that computer without being present and use the resources of that computer for everyday tasks. So you can see here, we are looking at a Windows 10 operating system, which is quite standard. It's a nice, clean visual effect, graphical user interface. And within that, we can open a window, which allows us to view a different computer. Now, as it happens, that computer is a Mac OS, and Mac OSs are usually used to edit audiovisual files, and they are preferred to be used in that way than Windows 10 machines. So that is one use of remote desktop protocols, being able to edit a photograph in a Mac instead of a Windows 10 machine. Now, a second solution, a second category of solutions, which is very near the first one, is what we call a DaaS, or Desktop as a Service. Now, in effect, Desktop as a Service is very similar to RDPs, but what they are, a desktop is sat within a server somewhere in the cloud, let's say from popular companies, Microsoft Azure, Amazon Web Services, or the Google Cloud. And this desktop, this computer, is just sat and run within their servers. And then a user, a client, is allowed to access this machine using usually remote desktop protocols, and then use that machine in the cloud. Now, this allows for some of the user needs that we discussed before to be covered, but again, it's not the full picture of what we're trying to achieve. And then after that, we have the third category, which is VDIs, or virtual desktop infrastructures. Now, what VDIs are, again, very similar to the other two solutions, and they include a lot of the functionality of the other two solutions, but what it effectively is a cloud platform that allows a user to create multiple remote desktops, virtual machines, and then from there access and manage those virtual machines from one infrastructure, a virtual desktop infrastructure. Now, even though those solutions are great and they can be used, and we have been using them, they are lacking in some very core needs of our users. And those are multiple user live collaborations, information sharing between those cloud devices, minimal peripheral access and sharing. There's no actual hardware considerations and no user-friendly setting up. You can speak to people that can recognize what these solutions are, but very few people actually know how to use them and set them up and actually run them in their everyday lives. So moving from that, we will present our solution. Our solution is to integrate, bring together all these different aspects of the tools that we currently have available into one centralized platform / solution, which in effect brings all the databases, files saving, all the devices, whether those are laptop computers, mobile phones, into the cloud and user collaboration, whilst keeping everything safe, secure, and high spec operating. Now, using our platform, PUI, or projected user interface, which is a play on words on the graphical user interface, now projected user interface, the users will be able to not only have instantaneous access to their data from any device, but have access to all of their digital environments, collaborate in real time, seamlessly access all their devices whilst having complete control and security over their data, which is in effect the whole purpose of what we're trying to achieve. Okay, let's start by talking about why now. Industry leaders have long predicted that the future of technology is within the cloud. Today, 64% of businesses operating budgets are allocated in some form to cloud and cloud services, and for good reason. Now, technology and subsequently the cloud has been rapidly evolving, but the market overall is slow to adopt it. Now, the COVID-19 pandemic and the accompanying quarantine has forced businesses to work remotely and discover the multitude of available cloud tools. Now, a large number of these companies might never actually go back to normal, within quotation marks, working, and therefore now the market has been primed for cloud solutions and everyone is prepared to use them. Now, moving forward from that, we'll speak about the actual infrastructure and what's available today. And the steady increase of fiber optics and now the 5G network have been established, and fast internet infrastructure that allows for further utilization of cloud resources. So the market is ready, the cloud is popular, the internet speeds are more than enough to handle what we are proposing, and lastly, we now have a time-sensitive advantage against the industry. And that's because the industry currently has no fully comprehensive solution available for the user's needs that we have discussed before. And following that, we will speak about the actual product and service, which is a projected user interface. PUI is a cloud computing operating system that can virtualize all of the user's devices into one centralized high-spec platform, which will enable device interchangeability, instantaneous resource sharing, significant performance improvements, whilst consolidating all of the data, all of a company's resources into a centralized location, whilst reducing hardware and electricity costs. Now, to give you a better understanding of how this could work, it could be installed on all devices to revive them, because in effect, they would no longer need their own hardware to run the software that the companies need. It can be installed on existing devices to improve them by giving them the extra access of cloud computing, or as a completely self-contained operating system in new devices, which would automatically include those devices into our centralized platform. The market size. To address the market size, we use two approaches. The first approach, as you all know, is the top-down approach, which is the generalized idea of what could be possible within a market. Now, starting our top-down approach analysis, we have identified a total market of international cloud active computing users of 2 billion. Now, 2 billion international cloud computing active users exist, with a domestic number of 17 million users. So there are currently 17 million active users within the UK using the cloud computing. Now, 0.2% of all those accounts, of all those users, are actual paid businesses. And that number is actually 34,000 B2B clients, which are available in the market that we're talking about. Now, if we were to target everyone, we have 34,000 businesses available for us to target. And with a conservative 1% penetration in a year, that would be 340 customers. Now, that's a very generalized approach. It gives you an idea of what could be possible, but it doesn't give you practical information that we can act upon. And therefore, we use the bottom-up approach as well to address our current situation and how it can be utilized to access this market. Now, we currently have a pool of IT support clients. These customers have known us for their IT support for a while now, and we can choose, we have actually chosen, but we can choose 2 to 3 trusted clients for help with during the development period. Now, after the development has been done and it has addressed the real life problems of these 2 to 3 trusted clients, we can further choose another 10 existing customers for beta testing at a reduced rate. It could be for free or a future reduced rate for always using the system. But the 10 existing customers exist today within our pool of clients. Now, approximately 15 business parks are in the local proximity. And using our marketing plan, we aim to have 50 local/domestic businesses within the first year. Now, by having 50 local or domestic businesses, it allows us to be able to jump into a car and run straight down to every customer's office and give them a real life support within their office, an on-premise support. We eventually don't want to be doing that, but to start with, when you're releasing a new product, you will have to accept the fact that there will be some snags, some bugs that you will need to hands-on work out for your clients. And I'm sure every client would appreciate having a helping hand of an IT trained engineer in their office. Now, moving forward from the market size, I will present the business model canvas, which I will not go through right now. I'm sure everyone has a copy and you can actually sit down and read every single bit of it. But I'll move forward from that and I will present our business model. Now, our business model has two main legs. The first one being B2B, business to business, and the second one being B2R, which is business to reseller. Now, the way this would work for the B2B side, it would be the freemium model. Now, it's the model also known as the Dropbox model, or what's widely used for software nowadays. It's a high volume, high margin, medium to low prices model. And due to the fact that it's addressed to the enterprise, which is business to business, the prices are not just low, they are medium to low. Now, the way this works is that you provide a customer with a limited trial version of your software where they can see the functionality, they can make themselves familiar with all the benefits of using the system. And then you also provide a time-constrained upgrade offering, which I'm sure everyone have seen. You can have the basic model, or you can try the medium subscription for free for the next month, so you can see how much better it is if it works for you. And if it does, by the end of the time constrained upgrade, you can choose to continue using it or simply go back to what you've been using up to now. That is the model that we will be following, and we will be marketing to our target market using the stakeholder marketing, which is manual prospecting. As I mentioned before, we have about 15 local business parks in our area, which we can walk in, speak to the managers, and actually prospect individual businesses to raise the numbers to our 50 in the first year, as we spoke about before. We have already made an approach to some of their local business parks, and the managers of the business parks are very happy to allow us to go in, provide some IT support for free, in effect, which will then give us access to all their clients in terms of IT support and in terms of this solution being made available to those customers. Now, after doing that, every single customer that we have had will be able to access our referral marketing structure. Now, the referral marketing structure will, in effect, allow each individual client to gain something from our services for free or for a reduced rate if they're able to refer another company to us, which company will also have some kind of reduced rate in order to say thank you for choosing us or trialing our services. Now, if through all of that happening first, because we do need to have some brand awareness before we move to the second branch of our business model, we will move to reseller licensing, which is in effect what some people know as royalties. I should better say, when the software is out and being used and being trialed and all the major bugs have been fixed, then we will be able to provide licenses to other IT resellers of selling our own software as their own, and in effect allowing them to gain some kind of reward for their services and gain clients which we wouldn't be able to access if they weren't in the chain. So let's run some numbers. Pricing per customer for profit margins. If I sat here and said we will have 50 customers and each of them would pay us an average of £1,000 a year, then with 50 customers we have £50,000. Then that approach is very general. So what we decided to do instead is present a cost per user to provide the profit margins for the specific users. Software can be rolled out to a lot of users at the same time with, in effect, no limits to expandability. So if you have a profitable marketing per user, then your overheads could be covered simply by having more users. And by focusing on gaining more and more users, your overheads will be covered and eventually overtaken by your business plan. So presenting our solution here, our solution requires a back end, which is the actual computer and the raw processing power in a server, which is a virtual machine. And additionally, it requires a front end, which will be a client software, something that a user can put on their computer and put on their mobiles, can put on their devices in order to have an access point to the back end. Now, we have looked at available services online, like Microsoft Azure and Amazon Web Services, etc., in order to identify the best virtual machines to access, usually Windows 10, but also other operating systems, and the price per virtual machine for a high-end virtual machine. So not a normal computer, but actually an improvement to the average of everyday businesses, would cost about £8.20 per virtual machine for a 24/7 access. Now, a client software, which would be on the computer of each client, would cost £4.20 per license as a front end. And these numbers are actually the cost to us in order to provide this service. The total cost to us per user would be at £12.40. And that number is probably going to go down due to the fact that the services, cloud services, tend to be improving in quality and reducing in price as we go along. We are so low in prices right now, actually, that big companies like Microsoft and Amazon no longer quote individual virtual machines, but they actually quote pay as you go. And what that means is that they quote per second. So they say we're so competitive, we make so much profit on our services that we can we're able to quote individual users per second, and if they're not using the service, we're just not charging them because we're making money already. Now, if the total cost is at £12.40 per user, our pricing options, the way we have planned them, are presented at the bottom of that slide. And for a basic plan of 3 to 9 users, which is an SME, a small to medium enterprise, would be at £30 per user. So if it was one individual user, we would probably provide a free trial to see our system. Now, if it was an actual company and they had 3, 4, 5, all the way up to 9 devices that they would like to include in our services, it would be £30 per device, which would give us a gross margin of 59%. £12.40 per user, £30 price to the customer per user. Now, the medium or standard subscription would be for companies using 10 to 25 users in their plan. And our price would be reduced to £20, which would even then be providing us a gross margin of 38%. And eventually we move into enterprise, big offices with a lot of users, 25 plus users, that would bring our price down to about £15 per user, which is again a 17% gross margin. Now, these margins are very promising for what we can achieve, but eventually we would like to be more focused in making our software better, in making our product better and better, so it can be pushed to clients easier and to give more value to every single client that decides to use our service. And in order to do that, we introduce the business to reseller program. Now, what that is, like I said before, an IT company can market our software as their own, and we would charge this company £13.78 approximately. That's just an approximation that we're providing now. And we would be looking at making a gross margin of 10% on the business that they are making. So in effect, every IT company can provide our software with their customer service. They would be making 90% of whatever, if they were charging the same price as we are, but we would make 10% on every single user sale. And that would create a very balanced business plan and a very balanced cash flow, which would allow us to pay more attention in developing and improving our software, whilst other IT companies pay more attention to customer service, and they make the money in that way. Moving forward from that, I will speak about what the work in progress and the PITCH1000 can contribute to our business. With the £1,000 that we could possibly acquire from the work in progress, we would be able to customize domains and emails, and in effect create a professional web design, deployment and hosting of our website in order to attract more investment, in order to bring the word out, in order to show a professional face out to the world, and to design graphics and literature in order to advertise to the outside world. This would create an online awareness campaign, which would bring to us a better brand awareness and trust, because now we exist, we are in the web, we're out there, people can see it, and if someone hears about us and would like to see more, they can simply visit our page and they could find out more about what we do. Investment interest. We are now creating, we now have a cash flow that can support the development of the new software that we're trying to achieve. But in effect, development can take a long time, and technology does not wait for anyone. So in effect, with extra investment, we would be able to bring our development and our product out to the market a lot faster, which would give us a competitive advantage against the market. And it would be the £1,000 would help us bring development cloud engineers closer to our proximity, so we can discuss with them. We can create packages for them in order to help them add themselves to our development team and be included in our project. Moving forward, we will speak about some timescales. We'll speak about where we are today and how we are progressing. We have already made contact with a few companies that provide front-end user interfaces, and Stratodesk, which is one of them, has been very willing, and we are about to create a licensing agreement which should be in operation by the end of July 2020. Presentation for PITCH1000, Lancaster University Enterprise Centre, which is where we are now. This is the purpose of the video, and hopefully we'll be able to acquire the £1,000 benefit from you guys, and then we can use that £1,000 to create our websites, create our graphics, create our marketing campaign in order to get the word out and get more interest into what we do. After that, we will be able to apply for the Young Innovators Award, which should be done by early August 2020. Now, what the Young Innovators Award provides us is a further £5,000 investment to roll out more of our campaign and get the word out even more. And through that, business development support with the Prince's Trust. We have currently already applied for the UK Smart Grant, the Innovate UK Smart Grant, and the results from that application will be made available to us by the end of August 2020. If it is successful, we will proceed to a ground-up development of £300,000, which will allow us to control back-end and front-end in-house and have a full development team working on making that software better and better. If not, then no problem. We proceed with plan B, which is creating partnerships like we are currently doing with Stratodesk in order to have BDIs and thin client integrations to provide the software, even though we don't necessarily own every part of our software, but we are licensing it from another company that does. When the software is ready and when it's out and about with our clients, and clients are using it and they're giving us feedback on how to make it better, we will communicate with a telecommunications company, no pun intended, in order to create phone, internet, and data packages to include them in our subscriptions, and in order to control every single part of how our system operates. The internet will be a big part of how well our operating system will work. And having a good internet connection, as well as data packages for mobile devices, will dictate how well our program will be operating. And therefore, we would like to have control over those aspects as well. Following that route to market, within the first year and the first 50 clients that we're aiming to get from the pool of clients of business parks in the local proximity, we are expecting a turnover which is approximately, actually slightly over £100,000 within the first year. Now, in the second year, we're expecting to grow our clientele base to 300 clients and also gain access to 2 to 5 resellers within the UK, which would project our turnover to be pushed up to £600,000. And eventually, by the third year, we would like to access the EU market once we already have some base within the UK, and then push our sales to over £1 million turnover per year. And that would conclude our projected user interface presentation. Thank you very much for taking the time to be here and to listen to me speak about our system. And I would like to leave you with this. We are witnessing the development of a world where all devices are fully interconnected, where digital environments are fully accessible from anywhere, and where technology and user limitations are being eradicated. That is what our vision is, and that is our purpose. Thank you very much for your time. And if you would like to contact me for any more details, for some questions, or for showing your interest into knowing what we're up to, please take a note of these contact details, and I'll try and get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you very much. Juris Theophanes, and this has been a projected user interface presentation by Boss Limited.